Okay, today we're going to look at creating very simple text transition. It's sort of a blur dissolve that you can use. Let's take a look with the text blurs in just like that. Very simple, very easy to create, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at how to do that. And like I said, it's very simple. I've got some media here in my project window, and I drag that down into the timeline, and we see that it is this girl here just sitting in an office looking awesome. We'll go to File, New, Title, and basically all it is just two titles. Call this, we'll call this Awesome, because that's what it is. And we'll type in awesomeness right there, or really whatever you like. I'm just using this for a demonstration purposes. And this font is terrible, so let's go ahead and pick something a little bit less terrible. All right, that's not bad. Let's go with that. And what we'll do is, to make this more legible, you can see you can barely understand or read what's going on with those blinds in the background. So let's go ahead and throw a stroke, outer stroke on there. And we'll go ahead and throw a shadow on there as well. So make that a little darker. And bring the distance down. And really, it just doesn't matter what you have here, as long as you have some text. Whatever you've got, I'm just using this as an example. So that looks fine. We'll close that down. And just going to duplicate that and have another copy. Open up the second copy. And we'll bring this down here. And we'll say it's away. By the way, I'm got a microphone in one hand. I don't have my stand here today, so I'm just using one hand to type. There we go. And I'm going to adjust the kerning here. Make this. Let's go ahead and select it and adjust this so it kind of fills out that bottom area. Let's bring that down a little. Again, just any text that you have will work. I'm just using this as an example, just to make it a little bit more legible. Let's bring some of these values up, make it a little darker, maybe make the stroke a little bit bigger, just so that we can actually read that. Okay. So we'll drag our first title down in the timeline here. Let's rename this one More Text, so that we know what we're working with. And to create this effect is a very, very simple process. What we'll do is we go into the Effects folder, Video Effects, and go into Blur. You might be Blurs, Blur and Sharpen, depending on the version of Premiere you're using. And I'm going to use just a simple Gaussian blur, and I'm going to drag that over to my video and put that on there. No change. Now, again, we're applying this right onto the title layer here. And we'll open up in our video effects window here. We drop down the Gaussian blur, and I can keyframe this. So what I'll do is I'll bring this into a point where I want it to look like this at this point. And I turn on my keyframe. What I'm doing is I'm setting a keyframe. I'm setting the blurriness at 0 here at this point. And if I go back a little bit, and I set the blurriness much higher, you can see that it just kind of blurs in when I press play. So, sort of just blurs in, and I like that, but still it kind of pops on and right there. So let's zoom in a little bit, come out of our effects folder, close that down, and go into our video transitions folder, and you're going to go into Dissolve, and I'm going to use a cross dissolve to actually have that dissolve in. And I'm going to set that pretty short, just a few frames, so it actually just looks a little smoother. And then we'll bring in our second text layer, and we'll have that one start just a moment or two after the first one. And we don't want this, oh, I have that hidden, and we'll have this just pop on. In fact, let's do the same thing. So what I can do is I can actually copy, and I'll copy the first one and go to the second layer, or video track 3, and I will paste attributes. What that'll do is that will paste my blur exactly as I did, so this will blur on just the same. What it won't paste is the transitions, so I'll have to apply another transition on there. So we've got this and this. And to make it even more effective, let's just go ahead on the second one and we'll hit the scale keyframe and we'll set it so that it's this big in the beginning of this timeline here. Then we'll scale it down just a little bit and drag that keyframe all the way to the end, and what will happen is it'll slowly over time just sort of slip back. Just a little bit of subtle motion in there. And if we do the same thing with the first title, except we'll go in the opposite direction here. So let's start this one out a little bit smaller. Undo that, because what I'm going to do is start it right there. Hit that, oops, hit that keyframe, turn that on, and scale it up a little bit. Drag this keyframe to the end, and very subtle motion in there, but motion nonetheless. And so we have a very, very simple transition. That blur dissolve is very easy to do, and it's a little better than just your standard cross dissolve. So hopefully that was helpful for you, and this is something that you'll use in every video you make for the rest of your life.